Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Ayo me fele sama,
Me fele sama,
mama me fele sama,
me fele sama,
tisa me fele sama,
me fele sama,
ay mama me fele sama,
me fele sama,
brada me fele sama,
me fele sama, me fele sama, me fele sama, me fele sama, me fele sama, me fele sama.
mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Ayo me fele sama,
Me fele sama,
mama me fele sama,
me fele sama,
tita me fele sama,
me fele sama,
mama me fele sama,
me fele sama,
me fele sama.
me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama. Ayo.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama,
Ayo me fele sama,
me fele sama,
mama me fele sama,
me fele sama,
tita me fele sama,
me fele sama,
mama me fele sama,
me fele sama,
mama me fele sama,
me fele sama,
tita me fele sama.
me fele sama.
So the subject is scientific Garveyism, a working idealism for the 21st century and beyond. Let us begin by defining what is Garveyism. It's a good question, right? So I'm going to read first. It said, the theory and practice of African people engage in liberatory nation building as exemplified by the life and work of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Brother Leader says it is the sum total of the life and legacy of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Mosiah Garvey, encapsulating the man, the vision, and the plan. Yeah? And as you can see here, for the sake of rhyme, I've added the people. Now, initially I had the man, the people, the vision, the plan. For the sake of rhyme, I put the people, the man, the vision, the plan. Yeah? And I'm emphasizing this because oftentimes we focus on Marcus Garvey, the man. And that's good. It's a good start. Yeah? It's impossible, however, to understand Marcus Garvey outside of the context of the people. Yes? From which he came and the people through which he was organizing. Is everybody following me? Yeah. Yeah. And I'm going to explain this a little bit further. Yeah. Let's go forward as we explain some definitions. Right. Scientific, conducted in the manner of science.
You can enslave us with done for 300 years the bodies of men. You can shackle the hands of men. You can shackle the feet of men. You can imprison the bodies of men. But you cannot shackle or imprison the minds of men.
I sparked the blunt before I wrote this. Unsure how I approach it. I'm coughing up a lung like I got COVID gas potent. Snapping on the track like poetry. Words spoken. I've been in my feelings trying to find a state to cope in. Justice for...
10 Wadi, be thankful unto the Mother, Father, creative life force of the universe. Kudzai Muzimu Mukuru, we give praises unto our great ancestors. Abibi Tumi, Abibi Fahodi, African power and African liberation for all African people. Greetings and welcome, brothers and sisters, to this edition of Zivanai. Yes, indeed. Give us some signal in the chat here. Let me know something I can be heard, please. I'd appreciate that if somebody can let me know, say, you know, the voice I come through loud and clear and all of these things. One would appreciate that very, very well, kings and queens, all right? But yes, indeed, we're there. And I want to say big up to everybody, wherever you are tuned in and around the world, brothers and sisters. I am currently in the US of A, and I'm saying, you know, here for a very powerful event that took place on Monday, Saturday, and I'm going to get into that very shortly, brothers and sisters. But giving thanks to brother Seth Imhotep in the building, letting me know that, you know, I'm you know, clearly visual and audible and all these things, kings and queens, you know what I'm saying? So we give thanks. And yes, welcome. This is Ojima Day, Tuesday the 14th of May, where I am. It is just after the hour of 3 p.m. and we are live as usual, 8 p.m. GMT. So big up to my family in the UK, and big up to my family worldwide, and particularly big up to my family on Eastern Time right about now, because that we depend, you know, see it, you know, that's how the thing go. All right, family. So yes, indeed, we're going to get into a continuation of the conversation that we began a few weeks ago on African Centred Education. I figured that it would be good to delve a little bit deeper in the subject, yeah, a little bit deeper in the thing, you know, see it. So we're going to do that today, brothers and sisters, and I hope that ones and ones kind of, you know, appreciate the energy, the vibration, and the information. The reason why we're doing this is because I outlined some of the frameworks a couple of weeks ago, but I want to get deeper into the subject fields, yeah, and what would be encapsulated within each subject as outlined by our now ancestor, Baba Kwame Ajay Akoto. So we give thanks to all those who are tuned in. Please like up the video as you come through. Let the people them know that ShakaRa is live right about now, discussing African Centred Education on gotkushTV, brothers and sisters. Yes, indeed. We encourage you to, I said hit the like button, right? Share the link far and wide. And if you are so moved, hit up our Patreon, brothers and sisters. Yes, indeed. Hit up our Patreon. you know, it assists us in being able to grow and develop the channel. Some announcements are going to be coming within the next month, brothers and sisters. You know what I'm saying? So we want to make sure that you are all in tune to the thing. If you want to stay in tune more directly, please check out the WhatsApp and Telegram channels, the both of which are linked in the description to this video. You will be able to get live and direct updates and notifications directly from us. No spamming now going in there, because only we can post in there as admin brothers and sisters. And so we look forward to you joining us in those spaces and staying in tune with the growth and development of gotkushTV. Yes, indeed, brothers and sisters. Let me first of all send a special shout out to everybody who came down and was present at the Abakosem Sunsum in Atlanta on Imani Day, Saturday, brothers and sisters, the 11th of May, Saturday just gone. I want to send special shout out to brothers and sisters who came from all over the US of A to that particular occasion, brothers and sisters. I want to send a special shout out to my Oman, my Empress, my Queen, who is tuned in right about now. You know what I'm saying? You know, when your queen come around, you know, so you feel good. And all of these things, kings and queens. So yeah, give thanks to our Empress who's in the building, and want to ensure that I want to send a special shout out to all those who came down on Saturday, brothers and sisters. Now, for those who are not aware, Abakosem Sunsum means, in a loose translation, the spirit of African history. The spirit of African history, brothers and sisters. Yeah. So Abakosem is a narrative tradition. Yes, a storytelling tradition, a repository and transmission tradition within Akan culture. Both these words are in the Tree language. Yeah. Spoken in West Africa. And so Abakosem is the narrative of the ancestors, yeah, the narrative of the people, the narrative of the community, the narrative of the nation. Different from Anansism, yeah, those who would recognize the word Anansi, which is the narratives of the people, but more invested in the folklore. Yes, so Anansi story and all them things. That's Anansism. So you have Abakosem on the one hand and Anansism on the other. Okay, and so Sunsum, loosely translated, is spirit. And so the event Abakosem Sumsum is designed to create an environment whereby we can connect with our warrior ancestors and recenter ourselves on completing the work, the vision, and fulfilling the vision and the mission of our warrior ancestors. Yeah. And so I'm not going to get too much into it today. All right. I'm not going to get too much into it today because I'm going to be planning an actual review event about Abakosem Sumsum. With brothers and sisters who were actually in attendance, and possibly brothers and sisters who have attended prior to. Yeah, and so hopefully we're going to get that, and you can get a fuller idea of how Abakosem Sumsum went down. You know what I'm saying? Because it was a powerful event, a beautiful event, and there's not much like it, brothers and sisters, elsewhere in the African world. And so we want to send our love to Mama Marimba Ani, who is the person who is primarily responsible for organizing Abakosem Sumsum, conceptualizing it, and bringing it to the masses, brothers and sisters. Everybody that reaches every year, is in awe, yeah, of the power and the significance and the magnificence of that particular event, brothers and sisters. You know what I'm saying? And to call it an event is even a diminishment of the thing, really and truly. We give thanks to Mama Marimba for having that vision to make sure that this, this annual occasion and observance is brought to us, and that we are able to see, those who are able to see the benefits and the purpose of it, do so and bring their energy to it every year. Yes. And so this year, as I've announced previously, we were engaging in physical training. There was training in wrestling, there was training in African martial arts. There was fitness training. There was training in capoeira. There was training in archery. And there was also training in arms. Yeah, small arms training, brothers and sisters. Yeah. And so all of that took place, yeah, at Abakosem Sumsum, brothers and sisters. And so I want to just once again shout out to everybody who came through the Abakosem, yeah, and we'll see if I'm permitted, if we can, share with you little snippets of what took place. I want to send a special shout out to the brother who did the libation, because it was a very powerful libation. Yeah, man. I believe he's a comfort, a so-called priest in the Akan tradition. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what I mean. So we want to give thanks to that brother who name is slipping me at the moment, but I'll get his name at some point, and then I'll share it with you, brothers and sisters. But it was a very powerful and purposeful libation, and I want to send a special love to all of the ancestors who came to visit us and minister to us during the proceedings of Abakosem Sumsum as well, brothers and sisters. And one of the major legacies that our ancestors have left us, yeah, is in the arena and the area of education, brothers and sisters. Education and the need for us to develop independent educational institutions and independent educational paradigms for our children in particular and our people as a whole. And a couple weeks ago, I was blessed to be able to share some works with you from the wellspring of wisdom of Baba Kwame Ajay Akoto in the book Nation Building, Theory and Practice in African Centred Education. And so I received more than one message saying, this year something here, it need a part two. That's something you need to come again, yeah, pull up and go in it deeper, you know what I mean? So we're going back to the Kings and Queens. We're going it deeper, a little more. Once again, delving into the frameworks developed by our Baba Kwame Ajay Akoto to do so, yeah. And so I hope ones and ones are ready for that. And this is just one framework that an elder and his institution, yeah, because he is the founder, along with his family, of Freedom Home Education Network and various different related institutions, including a publishing company and so on, brothers and sisters. And so I want to make sure that brothers and sisters kind of understand the dynamics of this thing a little more, all right? So once again, brothers and sisters, share the link far and wide. We're going right now. I'm going to share my screen. Yeah, we're going to share my screen. And once again, you can feel free to @gotkushTV, yeah, @gotkushTV, if you would like to have your comment or question read out during the midst of the show, brothers and sisters, all right? Please @gotkushTV if you would like to do so. And mods, you know what to do if you think that somebody's trying to get through to me. Just please let them know or repost the comment, all right? Give thanks. Let me just deal with this before I get into the presentation, because setting what was already done. So you feel so you know see you get a fresh no comment, you know, no comment setting what it, you know what I mean? Yes, King, you know what I mean? Give thanks. Yes, brothers and sisters, all right. So we're going to get into this now. I'm gonna start in an interesting place here. I've got a number of presentations on African Centred Education, okay, and I've read a lot of different things, as well as being a practitioner in the field of African Centred Education. And some years ago, I was reading an article about a school called Eton. Yeah, a school called Eton, which was published via the BBC in the year 2010. Okay, now for those who are not aware, Eton is among the top secondary schools in the United Kingdom of Great Britain. Yeah, the top secondary schools are Eton and Harrow. Yeah, Harrow. All right, brothers and sisters, Eton and Harrow. Yeah, and so Eton is the institution that has produced the most prime ministers, yeah, in the country, brothers and sisters. Okay, so a number, and I believe it's the number is in the teens, of the prime ministers of the United Kingdom of Great Britain attended what is referred to as Eton College. Yes, Eton College, elite school, yeah, public school for the elite. Okay, and it produces people who enter into the elites of the political and economic system of the United Kingdom of Great Britain. And this is a quote from a graduate of Eton College. The article is entitled, "Why Has Eton Produced So Many Prime Ministers?" And this guy, Palash Dave, who was an attendee of Eton, said that kids arrived there with this extraordinary sense that they knew they were going to run the country. Kids arrived there with this extraordinary sense that they knew they were going to run the country. And I've delivered many presentations on this subject and asked many audiences and individuals, when you went to school, when you were walking to school, secondary school, and we start secondary school at 11 years old in the UK. Imagine your first day at school, brothers and sisters, anywhere where you're there in the world, yes? And ask yourself, when you put on your new school uniform, yes, and shine up your new Chris shoe, you know what I'm saying, like, as a little 11-year-old boy or girl, yes, you put on your tie if you didn't wear a tie, or you know, your khaki if you didn't wear khaki or whatever, you know what I'm saying, you know, seam up your pants sharp, yeah, put the sharp seam, the extra sharp seam in your pantaloon them, yeah, and you go to school with your rucksack or your bag, yeah, and you know, you leave your house now and jump on the bus or jump in the car or whatever. What's the thought that was in your mind? You know, when me leave my educational institution right here now, you see, when me done here after 5 years or 6 years or 7 years, when me leave and go in the world, me I go run this country. Me I go run the United Kingdom of Great Britain. Me I go run Jamaica. Me I go run Trinidad. Me I go run the United States of America. Me I go run Barbados. Me I go run Ghana. Me I go run Nigeria, Congo, South Africa. Me I go run Suriname. Me I go run Haiti. It was that the experience that you had, brothers and sisters, going to school? Yes or no? I would like some yes or no's in the chat. Is that what you thought when you went to school, brothers and sisters? Some of you may have, you know, it's possible. Some of you may have, you know what I'm saying? Some of you may have operated in the super elite within your nation, and so the school that you went to was one where those people, you know, were produced, you know, and schooled and educated and socialized. That may well be the case. And if that is the case, please name your institution. If yes, if you went to school and you thought, when I leave here, I am going to run the country, yes? When I leave here, me, I go run the country. I am going to be a part of the political and economic elite. Me, I go be the minister of finance or the chancellor of the exchequer. Me, I go be the president or the prime minister. Me, I go be the CEO of the top company in the country. Me, I go run this country. Yeah. Let me know if that's what you were thinking. And if you did think that, I would like to know the name of the institution at which you were educated. That would be interesting for us to know, brothers and sisters. All right. And so the point here is that whether you did or you didn't think this is going to have a defining, Mr. definitive impact upon the type of education that you receive. In other words, I'm saying, brothers and sisters, even if a child who believes when they leave their educational institution that they are going to run the country, and a child is in the same classroom who does not have that belief, the child that is taught, go to school, get good grades, and get a good job, those two children, even if they are in the same classroom, are going to receive and experience education very differently. Because the purpose of education in the minds of the person who says he is going to run the country, she is going to run the country, is entirely different to the person who does not have that purview. And we have to take into consideration that the reason why an individual can go to Eton saying, you arrive with this extraordinary sense that they knew they were going to run the country, is not because of the personal ambition of the individual going to school at Eton. It is because of the social role that an institution such as Eton plays within the social, political economy of the United Kingdom of Great Britain, and the student attending Eton being aware of the role that this institution plays within the society in which they live. Yeah, so we know that generally speaking, in fact, there's been studies done on this in the United Kingdom of Great Britain as well, in the sense of the differences between elite education and non-elite education. And one of the principal dynamics is the sense of confidence, self-confidence, and audacity that is instilled and cultivated in those elite institutions, because not only do those people have a good sense of developing the self-esteem, yes, of the young people in those institutions, they also have the socio-political environment and the institutions to fulfill the benefits of that self-esteem raising. So the young people go to Eton not just full of a sense of self-worth and self-pride and a confidence in their ability to achieve in their subjects, to learn, to acquire information, to overcome challenges in their learning, all of which is important. They enter the institution understanding that all of that education, that self-confidence, that overcoming challenges, that being able to receive and information and learn and translate it and apply it in the various different lessons and subject matters, all of that has a function within the society that me as a attendee of this institution is going to be able to reap the benefits of when I leave here. Okay, and so this suggests that, as my father, Reverend Leader Bandaka, says, all education takes place within the context of a national agenda. All formal education takes place within the context of a national agenda. In other words, the education system is formulated according to the needs, real and perceived, of the nation in which the educational process is taking place. Time doesn't allow to go into this today, but if you look at public education in general, this will be borne out to be true. Yeah. Cut a long story short, the education system that the majority of the Western world has at the moment was developed to meet the needs of industrialization in the 1800s. Yeah, it was designed and developed to produce skilled and semi-skilled labor to work in factories. That was the primary purpose and need that public education was designed to fulfill as it relates to its development in the Western world. And so what we are doing when we explore a subject such as this is engaging in a process of designing a curriculum, which is a system of education that is designed to meet the needs of African people as a nation. That is what African-centered education means. Yes, so that when our children enter our African-centered educational institutions, they should come with an extraordinary sense that they are going to be involved in the process of nation building. That is why the book by Nana Kwame Ajay Akoto is entitled Nation Building, Theory and Practice in African-Centered Education. Note the book name, Nation Building, Theory and Practice in African-Centered Education. Ono afi overstand wagwan yasa. Okay, so we have to put that in context. We have to put the thing in context. So a few weeks ago, what we did is that we went through a whole explanation about the we touched on the African-centered thematic inventory. And if you want it, maybe I will go in do another session that goes into more depth about the African-centered thematic inventory. All right, but we can do that another day and another time. But it's an important subject, but basically the African-centered thematic inventory is the primary foundational principles and values upon which the African-centered curriculum and educational process is developed and built. It encapsulates the defining principles and purpose for the educational process and governs the themes that show up in the actual administration of education within an African-centered educational institution. I hope ones and ones are overstand when me I say right you know. Yeah. When me I say right you know. All right, brothers and sisters, please at gotkushTV if you have questions or comments that you want to be read out. Okay, so we're gonna go forward. What I want to do today, however, is focus on the curricular fields. Okay, so last session, we looked at the curriculum. We ended by looking at the curricular domains, which you see in red and green here, and the curricular fields, which you see bullet pointed under the curricular domains in red and green. So the curricular fields are in black. So under the curricular domain of the cultural ideological, you have the the culture and the training of subjects in culture and ideology and creativity. Under the curricular domain of spiritual psycho-effective, you have self-knowledge, ethics, and morality. Under the curricular domain of socio-political and economic, you have the subjects, the curricular fields of political economy, cognition and inquiry, technology, mathematics, science, computer. And under the curricular domain of technology, you have mathematics, science, computer science, functional skills. And under the curricular domain of nation building or practical application, you have career development apprenticeships, research theory and practicums, community development projects, organizational experience, and so on, brothers and sisters. And so what I want to do today is delve a little bit deeper into the curricular fields. Yeah, what would come under these curricular fields? This here just explains the reason for the design of the curriculum as it stands, which focuses on emphasizing in the administration of the educational process the relatability and connectivity between the different subject fields so as to engender holism within how the educational experience is administered and received by the young people or otherwise in the process. Okay, if you want the full reading, please check out our previous live session on African-centered education and what an African-centered curriculum will look like. So here I have outlined the African Centred Thematic Inventory. Yes, the African Centred Thematic Inventory, again, is the primary set of principles and values. Okay, we're not going to go into them deeply today, but I will outline them. Yeah, and as you can see, the primary curricular domains, the first 3 curricular domains are replicated in terms of what governs and defines the African Centred Thematic Inventory. And so we have the spiritual psychoaffective, and under that domain you have spiritual awareness. Yeah, and these are the primary principles that are within the African Centred curriculum: moral consciousness, self-knowledge, stroke practice, and ancestor veneration. And just to touch on that one, particularly important, because as African people, we have been indoctrinated into societies and educational systems that are heavily invested in us venerating other people's ancestors. And so as African people, especially within the context of an African Centred curriculum, we need to readdress that balance and center the veneration of our own ancestors. The cultural stroke ideological. Within the African Centred Thematic Inventory, the primary principles and values and themes that are under this particular aspect is the primacy of African civilization and the African origin of the human species. B, African-centered perspective on all knowledge and intellectual endeavor. C, ideological clarity and commitment. D, beauty and aesthetics. And E, white supremacy and racism. The third subsection is socio-political and economic. And under this particular theme, we have Pan-African political and economic unity, cooperation and development, African-American nationality, and you can replace that American with anywhere you are in the world, it will still apply. Just we must see ourselves as a nation wherever we are in the world. National and community leadership, co-equality of men and women, equal responsibility and participation, democratic plurality and racial ethnic nationalities in the American political economy. And again, feel free to replace that American wherever you are. Not delving into it today, but if you want it in another session, we can go into the aim and purpose of each of these themes within the African Centred Thematic Inventory and what it is designed to produce. Okay. Human rights and civil rights. Impediments, so that is the impediments to us, our nation building effort, impediments to successful African-centered educational programs. We have to factor in the impediments to our educational process. Yes, and that's what makes this book from Baba Kwame Aje-Akoto such a masterpiece, because of how thorough he is in outlining the frameworks. Yes, so even the impediments we must be able to consider and impart to our young people in their education. Institutional goal, yeah. So having a clear understanding of the purpose for your education. That's important, because many of us, when we went to school, did not have a clear understanding of the purpose for our education. And so we did not understand how we would utilize what we were being taught much of the time in our everyday lives, yeah, following our schooling. And so within the African-centered educational curriculum, we seek to address that particular deficiency. Okay? All right. Brothers and sisters, just bear with me for a second. Let me just make sure that I'm in the right place, yeah, as regards this presentation, yeah. Okay, and yes, we are. So hold on a second. Okay, there's that. So that was me. This is where I'm going through all of the African-centered thematic inventory. Yeah. So now we're going to focus on the curricular fields. Okay. And we're going to start by looking at cognitive determinants and phases of development. Okay, cognitive determinants and phases of development. Don't worry, without them big word there, all will be explained. Okay, so the cognitive determinants of the curriculum respond to that sequence of non-discrete phases, beginning with childhood and progressing through eldership. Each phase has a social focus and cognitive focus. Yeah, so we're connecting the cognitive, the brain development of ourselves as individuals and as a collective with a social focus and responsibility and function within our community and our nation. The organization of the several phases is derived from the sustained and active observation, interaction, and expectations of members of several independent Black institutions over the course of 2 decades. It has been observed that while there is a general pattern of development common to all children, the specific nature of that development will occur in accordance with the conscious and unconscious expectations and demands of the family and the broader culture, given adequate culturally, socially supportive institutions and practices. Now, this relates to what I began with. Let me read that sentence again. It has been observed that while there is a general pattern of development common to all children, yes, the general pattern of development common to every picnic, the specific nature of that development will occur in accordance with conscious and unconscious expectations and demands of the family, the broader culture, given adequate culturally, socially supportive institutions and practice. That is why Palash, Dave, go out eating and no say, when him leave here, I go run the country, you know. Me, I go run the country around here. Why? Because of the conscious and unconscious expectations and demands of the family and broader culture. Yes, them know, according to the demands of them family and the broader culture, children that go to Eton are supposed to run the country. And that's all the thing there. Consequently, any listing of phases of development is as much a testament of observed human development as it is a testament of culturally and socially determined expectations of each member in that society. So in other words, what Baba J. Akoto is saying here is that the educational process must take place. For it to be effective, the educational institutions are not separate, distinct, and isolated from the community at large and the nation at large. That the education must take place within the context of a cultural and social environment that makes the educational process make sense, that reinforces the principles and values instilled in the educational process and gives the young people viable arenas through which to manifest the skills that they develop, the knowledge that they develop, the expertise that they develop within their educational environment, brothers and sisters. The cognitive and social focus mentioned above corresponds to the unique potentialities of the individual for humanness and those culturally determined expectations and needs of the collective. Simple as you take it. The school that you go to within any society has a significant impact upon the roles that you will play in that society. Yeah, I've already said a number of graduates of Eton became prime ministers of the United Kingdom of Great Britain. That is to say nothing of all those who were government ministers in various different portfolios, MPs, lords, bishops within the Church of England, big CEOs and leading members of big corporations and central and commercial banks, HSBC and the Bank of England, and so on and so forth. You will find that a number of the prominent people in all of these different institutions, them got eaten and arrow. Whereas children in inner city schools will be overrepresented in Primark jobs, supermarket jobs. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You know, general quote unquote working class jobs. They will also be overrepresented in the criminal justice system. Yeah, but that's another subject for another time, brothers and sisters. All right. The paradigm of individual duty to the collective is fundamental to the African spiritual psychic makeup. Messe, the paradigm of individual duty to the collective is fundamental to the African spiritual psychic makeup. It is the role of the wazazi and the mwalimu, that is the parents, wazazi, and mwalimu, teachers. That's Kiswahili. Wazazi, parents, mwalimu, teachers. To identify and facilitate the realization of those potentialities in such a way that they are harmonized with the character and dynamic of the collective. Those potentialities should unfold in a way that they enhance the collective and the collective. Those potentialities should unfold in a way that they enhance the collective, and the collective reciprocates in nurturing the realization of the individual's full and unique humanity. So there's a symbiotic between individual realization, the symbiotic relationship between individual realization and collective realization. The community has a responsibility to develop the individual in every way conceivable. And the individual also has a responsibility to develop the collective in every way conceivable. The interrelationship is fully reciprocal and mutually enriching. Me hope the people them overstand when me I say right now in the dance, brothers and sisters. Bear with me. I'm going to take a brief commercial break, and I'll be back with you shortly. So the subject is scientific Garveyism, a working idealism for the 21st century and beyond. Let us begin by defining what is Garveyism. It's a good question, right? So I'm going to read first. It said, the theory and practice of African people engage in liberatory nation building as exemplified by the life and work of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Brother Leader says it is the sum total of the life and legacy of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Mosiah Garvey, encapsulating the man, the vision, and the plan. Yeah? And as you can see here, for the sake of rhyme, I've added the people. Now, initially I had the man, the people, the vision, the plan. For the sake of rhyme, I put the people, the man, the vision, the plan. Yeah? And I'm emphasizing this because oftentimes we focus on Marcus Garvey, the man. And that's good. It's a good start. Yeah? It's impossible, however, to understand Marcus Garvey outside of the context of the people, yes, from which he came, and the people through which he was organizing. Is everybody following me? Yeah. And I'm going to explain this a little bit further. Yeah, let's go forward as we explain some definitions. Right, scientific, conducted in the manner of science.
You can enslave us was done for 300 years, the bodies of men. You can shackle the hands of men. You can shackle the feet of men. You can imprison the bodies of men, but you cannot shackle or imprison the minds of men.
I sparked a blunt before I wrote this, unsure how I approach it. I'm coughing up a lung like I got COVID, gas potent. Snapping on the track like poetry, words spoken. I've been in my feelings trying to find a state to cope in. Justice for...
Yes, indeed, brothers and sisters, you can join me on Kulichagulia Day, Monday, the 10th of June. Yeah, the 10th of June for the official release of the presentation, Scientific Garveyism, a Working Idealism for the 21st Century and Beyond. And the following day, we're going to give you 24 hours. Yeah, we're going to give you 24 hours. Yeah, to digest. Yeah, the presentation. Which is really just a snapshot in terms of the whole concept itself. But we're going to engage in some discussion on the 11th, or Jimmy Tuesday, the 11th of June as well. And so, yes, calling all Garveyites, Pan-Africanists, Black nationalists of all descriptions to feel free to come through and dialogue with upon that day. Yeah, so we're going to be delving into the presentation a little bit more. You can ask any questions, you can raise any concerns, you can add to what you think needs to be added to the paradigm of scientific Garveyism, and you can even challenge me, brothers and sisters. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Constructive critique is always welcome, and even the mischievous unconstructive critique. Yeah, feel free to come through, but if you come through, make sure your dub box deep. Yeah, that's what I'm going to say, brothers and sisters. Yeah, we don't want no shallow, mischievous challenges. We want full-throated, robust, mischievous challenges that have evidence and good research behind them. All right? Okay. All right, let's continue with our exploration of African Centred Education. We're going to get to the point where we're going to go into a breakdown of the different curricular fields and what will be represented in those particular subject matters. Okay? So we've ended the interrelationship is fully reciprocal and mutually enriching. So now we're going to break down the different phases. Yeah, phase 1, immediacy, social focus, the family and self-cognitive focus, identification and interpretation of the immediate and the concrete. This phase recognizes the primal and central role of the family in the formation of the individual. It is in this initial phase that the essential conception of self as an extension of the collective is established. Cognitive development is focused primarily on establishing meaning and patterns in the immediate social environment. Beyond emotional stimuli, the environment is perceived in concrete and narrow terms. Language, behaviors, and values are acquired primarily through imitation of modeled behaviors of family members. This phase includes the early and much of the middle childhood years. Yeah, so we have to be able to identify brain development and apply brain development to how we socially organize the lives of our children and the ways in which they understand their role and the responsibilities of the community and the family to them, and their responsibilities of the community and the family. And at this stage, it's primarily through imitation and modeled behaviors. Yeah, anybody who has a small child will know this to be true. Learning primarily through imitation and modeled behaviors. Yeah, and sometimes with small children, a lot of the time with small children, even if they can do something, they want you to do it with them. Yes, they want you to show them and guide them through the process and monitor their independent engagement in an activity. They may even tell you, I can do it myself, but then want you to watch them do it. Yeah, all right, because they've learned from you. They want to demonstrate what they have learned, and they want you to guide them further in their learning. Anybody with our small picture when know what we are talking about? Phase 2, social focus, peer, age group, and community. Cognitive focus, creative and critical thought and theoretical elaboration. Yeah. Okay. So for each of the phases, you have a social focus and a cognitive focus. I hope that's emphasized. That's clear to everybody. For each of these phases, you have a social focus and a cognitive focus. So for phase 1, the social focus is the family and self. The cognitive focus is identification and interpretation of the immediate and the concrete. Okay. For phase 2, the level of abstraction, the social focus is the peer group or the age group and the community. The cognitive focus is creative and critical thought, theoretical elaboration. This is now developing the thinking skills of the young person. The onset of this phase is occasioned by the period of pubescence, yeah? And so this is the point at which the reinforcement of the peer group begins to take a new significance, yeah? Whereas in phase 1, the reinforcement of elders, parents, maybe primary. When we get to phase 2, the reinforcement of the peer group takes on a new significance and becomes significantly more and increasingly more important in the life of the young person. So the social focus here is the peer group and the age group and the community at large. Okay? Cognitive focus, creative and critical thought, theoretical elaboration. The onset of this phase is occasioned by the period of pubescence. During this phase, the social focus is expanded to include the peer group, age group, and a sense of community. The family focus of the earlier phase is not lost, however. In fact, the effective functioning at the community level assumes a firm grounding in a family collective, in the family collective. There is a conscious effort to shape one's personality through self-evaluation of frequent trial and responses of peers. Once again, there is a conscious effort to shape one's personality through self-evaluation and frequent trial and responses of peers. Yeah. To give a basic example, this is when we begin to know what the girls them want, what the girls them like. Yeah, you know what I mean? You know, when you get a positive response from the girls, and you know, say, yeah, we're going to develop that side of myself right there, so. Yeah, you see that one there, we make the girls them laugh, we're going to develop that side there. You know what I mean? You know, most efficiently, you know, these things, yeah, and vice versa for the girls then, yeah, you know what I'm saying? That's how the thing go, all right? So that's a basic example. There are many other examples within that regard, because there is male to male reinforcement. There is also female to female reinforcement within that dynamic as well. Okay, there is older peer to younger peer reinforcement and vice versa in that dynamic as well. Okay, this is the period of intense self-consciousness. It is at this stage that philosophical speculation and logical thought can be sustained, although the experimental base of mature rational thought is yet lacking. Okay, so we're going to move on. Oh, okay, here we go. Phase 3, social focus is community nation. The cognitive focus is symbolic and pragmatic synthesis and creativity. Once again, social focus, community nation. Cognitive focus, symbolic and pragmatic synthesis and creativity. In this phase, the socio-historical consciousness matures and becomes a considered element in one's behavior. Awareness of that historical process and the attendant cultural awareness matures, and the corresponding need to establish one's place in that historical process is awakened. Yeah. The issue of one's role and place in society becomes paramount and is consummated in the establishment of family. So this is young adulthood now, whereby you become established within the community on a certain level of independence. And once you become a creator, not just a member now, but an extender of family, your role in the community goes on another level. The issue of personal productivity is consummated in careers. Yeah, so listen to this now. The issue of one's role or place in society becomes paramount and is consummated in the establishment of family. The issue of personal productivity is consummated in career. Yes, the specific path of expertise that you take on as a participant and a contributor to your community. Personal experience as well as the experience and history of the collective are prominent features in the decision making and personal deliberation. So we don't decide what our individual, area expertise, what family we're going to create outside of the context of family and community. Okay, personal experience as well as the experience of history and collective are prominent features in the decision-making process and personal deliberation. So in other words, we ask, what are my personal skills and what does my community need? What area of expertise do I specifically want to develop? And how am I going to apply that towards the development and empowerment of my community and nation? Phase 4, consummation, social focus, race and universe. Cognitive focus, holism, intuition, legacy, and spirit force. Having successfully established family and self and satisfied those duties and responsibilities associated with maintenance and development of the community and nation, one enters the 4th phase, that of consummation. This phase is marked by a fully developed worldview and philosophy, life philosophy. The focal point of reference is the holistic nature of being and becoming. The concern with one's own legacy, what legacy am I going to leave, is balanced with the urgency to share one's lessons of life in an effort to facilitate the maximal development of those generations that follow. So this is the stage of eldership, brothers and sisters. There is a unique awareness of the spiritual force and one's proximity to that force. The 5 curricula, so we're going to go on now to a more in-depth exploration of the curricular fields. So we were just dealing with phases of development, and now we're going to apply those to the curricular fields. The 5 curricular domains: cultural, ideological, spiritual, psychoaffective, socio-political, technology, and nation building, provide the basis for organizing the several curricular fields and their component subject areas. The domains also provide the basis for organizing the mwalimu, teacher, into teams for actual instructional process. So in other words, like how if you went to school, you might have a department of English and a department of science, and a department of media, a department of geography, for example. Within this particular framework, those departments will be organized according to the curricular domains. So you would have a department of the cultural ideological, a department of the spiritual psychoaffective, a department of the socio-political economic, a department of technology, and a department of nation building. And all of the subjects would be organized by that department in concert with each other. Okay? Additionally, the domains provide the basis for the organization of the class schedule. The schedule should provide blocks of time, not less than 90 minutes for each class. The schedule should provide blocks of time, not less than 90 minutes for each class. The curricular fields and the subject areas include the following. Okay, so under the curricular domain of the cultural ideological, the first curricular field is history. And so within history, we will learn African American history, or African UK history, or African Caribbean history, wherever it is. Yes. Civilizations of the world that goes beyond just African, classical African civilizations, concepts and application within the historical discipline, that is, current trends and developments within the study of history, yes, and the development of civilizations. Okay, so we have to put now our knowledge of history in the current context. So we're not studying ancient history, we're studying recent history in the present. Holocaust of African enslavement and what that means. In other words, that's the Ma'afa, as Mama Marimba Ani would designate it. We're going to study the Ma'afa and what that means in terms of our current context as African people in this time. Pan-African world history. So we must not only understand the history of our particular domicile, our particular context, we must understand the context of other Africans in other parts of the world. Pan-African world history, and then world geography. Yes, world geography. Okay, that should speak for itself. Still sticking with the curricular field, the curricular domain of cultural ideological, the next curricular field is language and culture. So one of the things that the children will learn is African languages. So regional, Twi, Yoruba, Zulu, Amharic, and then Pan-African, Kiswahili. And this is designated because it has been considered by many, although there are some challenges to this, but this is something that we work out. Yes, but the point is here, so it has been considered by many that Kiswahili has the rudiments and ingredients to become a functional Pan-African language. Okay. The point, however, is even if not Kiswahili, that there must be an inclination towards Pan-African language. Doesn't necessarily have to be one, but there must be Pan-African language or languages. And so our children are taught that in relation to fulfilling that particular need and purpose. I would add to this that as far as Africans from and residing in the Caribbean are concerned, the various patois and Creole should be a part of this, these languages. Okay, so for example, we may decide that the Aysen Creole and the Jamaican patois are standardized versions of the Creole that we must administer in the educational process, or we may divide it via the African English-based Creole and the African French-based Creoles. So that will take into consideration the variety, say for example, between Jamaica, Montserrat, Antigua, Trinidad, Barbados, alongside the variety that takes place between Haiti, Dominica, St. Lucia, etc., etc., etc. Okay, concepts and applications. Again, you'll find that replicated. You have to understand how this applies. What is the concept of a language and how does it apply to the nation building or community development effort? Current trends and developments. Again, we must look at always what the current functionality of languages are, developments in languages, because languages are always developing. Yes. Medunetter, classical African language and script. So we must understand the development of African writing systems. So I would add to this Nsibidi. I would add to this Adinkra in terms of ideograms. But we have to situate language and script writing within an African Centred core. And Mano said no out there where have an aversion for some reason towards Kemet being included within the African Centred historical and cultural paradigm. That's your business. We're not begging no friend. All right. And then other languages. Now it's important based upon where we are at as a people right about now, kings and queens, to be able to be proficient in communicating with Black people around the world. And so many Black people speak one of a number of colonial languages, particularly French, Spanish, and English, okay, as well as Portuguese. But he also has here Asian, Chinese, and Japanese, because of the fact that these are significant economic nations with significant economic institutions in today's world. So we should learn to communicate with them also. So yes, we can learn the French and the Spanish and the Portuguese and the Mandarin and the etc. and the etc. and the etc. Okay. So I hope ones are appreciating the practical nature of a system such as this. Culture and creative expression, also under the curricular domain of the cultural ideological aesthetics. So we have to have an understanding of African, what is beauty within our own culture. It's very important, particularly as it relates to our physical appearance as African people, but also as it relates to creative arts and so on and so forth. Audio visual communication, concepts and applications, current trends and developments, literature, as in African literature and African diaspora literature, literature as in international models. So we're going to also study other people's literature, music and dance, traditional and modern African. That might sound strange to someone. No consider say we have modern things. We're modern when name Africa. Okay. Speech and debate. So that's learning to communicate, formulate, and present an argument. Yes. Visual arts. And by the way, that one is important because that's one of the major things that is taught in an institution like Eton and Arrow, elite schools, that is not so much focused on in quote unquote lower class schools, yeah, inner city schools. We are generally not taught to speak and debate. Okay. Visual arts, traditional and modern African, including electronic media, written expression, creative and functional. Okay, so that will come under culture and creative expression. Yeah, that's a subject now. That's a curricular field. Okay, curricular field with under the curricular domain of the cultural and ideological. Also under the cultural and ideological curricular domain, you have the curricular field of philosophy and ideology. Within the curricular field of philosophy and ideology, we will be taught philosophy and ideology, African nationalism and Pan-Africanism, classical and traditional African philosophical systems, concepts and applications, current trends and developments, European and Asian philosophies. Yes, within the context of an African-centered educational curriculum, we will also study other people's business. What makes the African Centred unique, however, is that ours is central and primary. Okay? All right. Spiritual psychoaffective curricular domain again. We have the curricular field of ethics and morality. So we will study African spiritual systems, classical and traditional. Classical and traditional ethical and moral systems. For example, Ma'at, the Akan, and the Kikuyu. Yeah, so within every African culture, you have systems of ethics and morality. We must study those. Okay? All right. Concepts and applications. How do we apply what we are studying? Current trends and developments. Yeah, again, those are replicated in every subject. Other spiritual religious systems of the world. So we're going to study the Islam, the Christianity, and the Judaism. We're going to study the Buddhism, the Hindu. Yeah, we're going to study the Confucian. Yeah, and the Sun Tzu and all them things there. We're going to study the Adam Smith and the John Locke. Yeah, we're going to study all of them. All right. Knowledge, self-knowledge, yeah, curricular field, once again, in the spiritual psychoaffective, concepts and applications, current trends and developments, family and interpersonal relations, yeah, self-knowledge. Models of leadership, because the leadership capabilities of every young person must be cultivated. You must have knowledge of yourself as a leader. So we are going to study models of leadership, so that you can develop your various different leadership capacity and functionality. Personal philosophy, understanding the philosophy of the self, the individual self, and the collective self. Physical development and self-defense. Physical development and self-defense. That should speak for itself. We're not going to further, but bear in mind that all of these are studied within the subject field, the curricular field of self-knowledge. Then now we're moving on to the next curricular domain, which is the socio-political and economic. The first curricular field is political science. So we're going to study political science, African Americans and electoral politics, or Africans in the UK and electoral politics, Africans in Jamaica, electoral politics, Africans in Congo and electoral politics. You must teach the political system in which you live to the children. In the Al-Kiblan Academy of Excellence and the Ma'at Academy of Excellence, institutions in which I have been blessed to teach, we taught civics, understanding the political system of the United Kingdom of Great Britain, from prime ministership, come on down to local councils and etc. Yeah, how do you engage with the political system? As always, concepts and applications. What is political science? Yeah, what is a political system? What is political economy? Yes, and how are these things applied in the world in which we live? But also, how can we apply them to the world that we want to create? Okay. Current trends and developments within global economy, within national economy, government, national and local, Holocaust of African enslavement. We must understand that as a engagement of political science, international relations, racism and Western development. Miss racism and Western development, yes, because the Western world developed within the context of, as we know it, shall I say, the Western world as we know it, historically developed within the context of racism, white supremacy, enslavement, colonialism, and imperialism. That is just a fact. And so we must understand their development within that context and their impact upon us as a consequence. Then we will study, it says here, US history, I'm going to say European history in general, or the history of whatever European nation you are domiciled. Yeah, so it might be UK history, for example, if this African Centred Educational institution is operating in the United Kingdom of Great Britain. In other words, you must understand the specific history of whichever Bakra nation you are unfortunately existing within at whatever dispensation of time. As this relates to Africans in majority African nations, it may be that we must study the specific history of that nation, and we must also study the specific history of those that colonized that nation. So if you are in Jamaica, Trinidad, Barbados, etc., you must study UK history. If you are in Haiti, Dominica, St. Lucia, Guadeloupe, Martinique, must study the French history. If you are in Suriname, must study Dutch history. Yeah, and the Dutch often go overlooked, but they are key players in the development of Western imperialism, brothers and sisters, and also capitalism as an economic order. Okay, so you have to just bear those things in mind. Curricular domain, still staying with the socio-political and economic, business and economic development. So we study banking and investments. Yeah. Concepts and applications, current trends and developments, economic development models. Once again, economic development models and economics as a subject in and of itself. Okay. So all of those should speak for itself, you know, and within, yeah. I'll come to this. I'll come to what things that we would add specifically in these fields in the discussion. Okay. Technology, the first curricular. Now we're in the curricular domain of technology, and the first subject or curricular field is mathematics. Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and trigonometry. Arithmetic, calculus, concepts and applications, current trends and developments, general mathematics, geometry, historical contributions, current involvement, and social utility. Yeah, that's an important one. Historical contributions, current involvement, and social utility. Going to school, you would believe that only Europeans developed and knew how to do mathematics, and the rest of the world only knew how to do mathematics when they came across Pythagoras and other Europeans. And but when you study world history, you will understand that various different cultures developed various different mathematical systems. And in fact, much of what we have in Europe was in fact learned from other people. For example, terms like algebra are in fact Arabic. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So that demonstrates, yeah, the fact that at one point in history, the Arabs were the movers and shakers as far as the world stage is concerned in relation to particular disciplines, and the European world learnt from them to the extent that they even adopted terminologies from Fidim language that are now commonplace within European languages. Okay, so those things are important. And then finally, social utility. Yeah, so again, mathematics is probably the #1 subject in the world that students go through, they learn, but don't understand how they're going to apply these or what application these things have in everyday life. Yes, we have to make that clear to the learners, even if they don't pursue a career path in which mathematics is primary. Okay. Dealing with the curricular field of, domain of technology, we have the curricular field of science. Agronomy. Number one, know anybody who can tell me what agronomy is? What is agronomy? I'm going to check it in the chat. Can anybody explain to me what is agronomy? Yeah. Can anybody explain to me what is agronomy? All right. Taking your answers right about now. Bearing in mind, this is coming under the curricular field of science. The first bullet point says agronomy. What is it? Then you got astronomy, biology, chemistry. So you notice now, in our field thing, you know, now when you go to mainstream school, they just have chemistry, biology, and physics. Yeah. Field science. Mr. Field science curricula. It deal with agronomy, astronomy, biology, chemistry, concepts and applications, current trends and developments, general science, health and nutrition, historical contributions, current involvement, and social utility, life sciences. Interesting. Physical sciences, physics, technology, and national development. Let me see if I got answers to what is agronomy. Yeah, what is agronomy? Nobody don't know what name agronomy. All right, let me bring up the definition for you. Yeah, the answer is actually in the word, brothers and sisters. Agronomy, a branch of agriculture that deals with field, crop production, and soil management. Agronomists generally work with crops that are grown on a large scale, i.e. or e.g. small grains, and that require relatively little management. So once again, agronomy, the branch of agriculture that deals with field, crop production, and soil management. Agronomists generally work with crops that are grown on a large scale, for example, small grains. The reason why it is essential to have this as a subject or a curricular field in and of itself within an African-centered curriculum, to two reasons. One, many of our societies in majority Black nations are still fundamentally agricultural in nature. Yes, and so to grow, build, and develop a people from that foundation, you have to invest in the scientific development of agriculture in order to empower people and communities. It's also because within our culture, we have a very special relationship to land, the development and preservation of land. Okay? All right, I hope ones and ones appreciate that. The second reason is that within our current context, one of the primary issues that we have is access to land, reclamation of land, and food sovereignty. Note, I did not just say food security. Me say food sovereignty. So the curricular field of agronomy is designed to meet one of the very specific needs that we have as a people in this dispensation of time. Okay. And yep, Anthony says agricultural science. Yeah, that's basically what it is. Yeah. Agronomy, agricultural science. Anthony also says, yep, you are correct. Yeah. Papa Amilcar Cabral of Guinea-Bissau, revolutionary leader in Guinea-Bissau, was an agronomist. Yeah. And if you look at many of our better leaders within our history of the anti-colonial movement, I'm going to go as far as say all of them had a significant focus on agriculture, and in fact achieved many great things in relation to the agricultural development of their nations. Yeah, achieved many great things. Yeah, so those things are worthy of study as well. And if you look at Amilcar Cabral actually writes about agricultural development in a lot of his writing. So these things are worthy of study. So all of that, Amilcar Cabral, for example, would be included in our study of agronomy. Yeah. So thank you for raising that, Anthony. And we will study Amilcar Cabral in terms of what he said, what he did that worked, and what he did that didn't work. Yeah. None of our leaders, everything that they did, yeah, or our movements, everything that they did worked seamlessly. Yeah. We've studied all of that. That's why within each curricular field, you study concepts and applications, and you also study current trends and developments. Okay? Because we have a duty to correct the work and build upon the work of our ancestors. Yeah, that's why. All right. We don't come here with the illusion that everything with them say and do is immediately applicable to today's world. That would be foolish thinking. Okay. Then you have computer science. Yeah. So we're under the curricular domain of technology, and the curricular field is computer science. Applications, concepts and applications, current trends and developments, historical contributions, current involvement and social utility, literacy, including survey of modern development in computer and communications networks, programming, systems design and analysis. Yeah. So if we were developing this again today, we might include nanotechnology. Yeah, as a separate area of study under the curricular field of computer science. We may include artificial intelligence as a separate field, separate area of study under the curricular field of computer science. Okay, I hope ones and ones understand that. Functional skills. Yeah, so again, under technology, we have the curricular field of functional skills, automobile maintenance, carpentry, concepts and application, current trends and developments, domestic electrical and mechanical systems, typing. Yeah. I would also include sustainable energy under either functional skills. Well, to be fair, it could be under any one of these, yeah. But science, yeah, either functional school or science, I would include sustainable energy as a field of study. Okay, because that is one of the key challenges of our current environment, but it is also one of the challenges that is best suited to the environments that we dominate. Yeah, Fela Anikulapo Kuti has a song called Original Sufferhead. Yeah. And he's going through all of the things that we have in abundance, yeah, in Africa and the Caribbean for that matter, but seem to be scarce in relation to access to the masses of the people. So when he gets to energy, he said plenty energy for Africa, yeah, plenty sunlight, plenty water, plenty wind. Okay, sustainable energy, brothers and sisters. Yeah, we have to look into that as a primary challenge of the now that our children need to be taught to master. All right. Then we have nation building, curricular field of nation building. Sorry, the curricular domain of nation building. And these are the subjects under that curricular field. Sorry. These are the curricular fields under that curricular domain: career development and apprenticeships, career orientation and work experience. Yeah, so that's a part of the educational process. We may not have all the institutions to engage in work experience, but you can go and get your work experience. And then the question then becomes, how do we develop the institutions now whereby the next generation can do their work experience within our own institutions? Okay. Career orientation, guiding the learner through the process of choosing a career path or career paths. Research, theory, and application, Africology and research methodology. Yeah, this is under now nation building and functional application. They must be taught to research from an African-centered perspective. Field research experience, that's social, anthropological, etc. Community development projects, they must have field experience, yes, in doing projects within their community. Needs analysis and project design. So that really should come first, yeah? So needs analysis and project design. In other words, the children must be taught to identify what the needs of the community are, what the needs of the nation are, and be able to develop projects to meet those needs. And then once they develop those projects, they were able to do field experience, put those projects on the ground to work, analyze their success or lack thereof, and come back again and try again. Okay, organizational experience. Yeah, so that means they must be active members within the community and the different organizations and institutions within the community. And then organizational design and dynamics. How do you build and sustain an organization? How do you manage the dynamics of an organization? All of these things are within the context of the African-centered educational curriculum and the curricular fields. I'm nearly there, brothers and sisters. We're nearly there. Only 2 more paragraphs. The incorporation of the current trends and developments, which I was explaining before. Current trends and developments provides the opportunity to examine and evaluate the application of the subject area in real life, and to incorporate the experiences of the students themselves and the members of their family and community who may be active in the subject area. The close proximity of professional, retail, studio, scientific, and manufacturing concerns would facilitate adjunctive experiences to the classroom. Yeah, so that again, we're relating the practical to the theoretical. Their learning is going to be directly related to what they see around them in their community, and they're going to get an opportunity to experience what they're learning in real time as it is being manifested on the job, so to speak. Additional exposure and opportunity to know of real-world application is through television, science specials, newspaper and magazines, and occasional well-planned and relevant field trips to museums, and other appropriate sites. In other words, the children must be reading the Financial Times. The children must be reading The Economist. The children must be reading National Geographic. The children must be reading, I forget what the other science one is called. But yeah, it will come back to me. Yeah, they must be reading magazines that relate to engineering and mechanics. Yeah, they must be exposed to that within their learning process. Okay, as well as just everyday newspapers. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, and magazines and so on and so forth. Figure 1, which we're not going to go into today, identifies the principal factors in the organization of the African-centered curriculum. Each set of learning experiences, objectives, will be developed in the several curricular fields. Each set would additionally correspond to the appropriate level of development phases and be organized according to ideological themes. In this way, objectives can be developed for wanafunzi, which is the children or students. Wanafunzi is students or children at all levels. That's Kiswahili again, brothers and sisters, for those who may not have been here earlier. At all levels in the learning environment. And that's what we have done, brothers and sisters. That's what we have done. Yes, I hope ones-on-ones appreciate and appreciate love the breakdown of the African-centered curriculum as it relates to curricular fields. Yeah. And so what we're going to do now is open up the floor as always Yeah, we're going to open up the floor as always. Whilst I'm just opening up the floor, I pause for a brief immersion. So the subject is scientific Garveyism, a working idealism for the 21st century and beyond. Let us begin by defining what is Garveyism. It's a good question, right? So I'm going to read first. It said, the theory and practice of African people engage in liberatory nation building as exemplified by the life and work of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Brother Leader says it is the sum total of the life and legacy of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Mosiah Garvey, encapsulating the man, the vision, and the plan. Yeah? And as you can see here, for the sake of rhyme, I've added the people. Now, initially I had the man, the people, the vision, the plan. For the sake of rhyme, I put the people, the man, the vision, the plan. Yeah? And I'm emphasizing this because oftentimes we focus on Marcus Garvey, the man. And that's good. It's a good start. Yeah? It's impossible, however, to understand Marcus Garvey outside of the context of the people. Yes? From which he came and the people through which he was organizing. Is everybody following me? Yeah. Yeah. And I'm going to explain this a little bit further. Yeah. Let's go forward as we explain some definitions. Right. Scientific, conducted in the manner of science.
You can enslave us was done for 300 years the bodies of men. You can shackle the hands of men. You can shackle the feet of men. You can imprison the bodies of men. But you cannot shackle or imprison the minds of men.
I sparked the blunt before I wrote this, unsure how I approach it. I'm coughing up a lung like I got COVID, gas potent. Snapping on the track like poetry, words spoken. I've been in my feelings trying to find a state to cope in. Justice for...
Okay, brothers and sisters, give thanks. Once again, yes indeed, we're going to be dealing with the scientific Garveyism, brothers and sisters, on the 10th of June. Yeah, and then the discussion, open forum, yeah, will take place on the 11th of June, brothers and sisters. For those who don't understand the significance of the 10th of June, the 10th of June is the day that Papa Garvey became an ancestor, yeah, passed away into the ancestral realm. Okay, and so we're launching that particular presentation on that day, and it's not even the fullness of the paradigm, yeah, that we're going to be exploring, but we'll have an opportunity for deeper exploration on the 11th of June. So we're welcoming all Garveyites, yeah, to explore with all Pan-Africanists of whatever description, whatever school of thought, or Black nationalists of the same to come true, or naysayers, yeah, feel free to come true as well. You know what I'm saying? And we'll explore the paradigm in much more depth. And so you can feel free to suggest, yeah, what you think I haven't included that needs to be included. You can feel free to tweak, you know, my language in whatever way you see fit. You can feel free to, you know, to challenge me. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And all of these things. If you see fit also, brothers and sisters. The point here is that we have to be involved in the theoretical and practical updating and exploration of the paradigms that we are using to organize in today's world. And so as a Garveyite, this is my humble contribution to doing that in the field of Garveyism. So we're going to get into that on that day. And so we're inviting all brothers and sisters, yeah, to share their voice with regards to what is said in the presentation. And I will probably even go into a bit more the things that I wasn't able to get into on that day because we were at the Mosiah opening ceremony, yeah. And so another day we'll do the entire presentation, yeah, but that will take a few hours, so we'll release that in parts. All right, right, brothers and sisters. So you can feel free to click the link, yeah, to come through. You can join the conversation. The link is in the chat. The link is in the chat. If you want to have your comment read out, please at gotkushTV. Please at gotkushTV. Let me make sure that I pin the link to the top of the chat right about now. Yeah. So we've been exploring, for those who are just coming in, we've been exploring what an African Centred curriculum would look like continued. Yeah. So previously, what we did was, let me just bring it up for you. What we did was we had looked through and explored everything that we're looking at today comes from the book Nation Building Theory and Practice in African Centred Education, written by our now ancestor Baba Kwame Ajay Akoto. Yeah, and so we looked at some weeks ago the basic organization of a curriculum into domains and fields. Yeah, curricular domains and fields. Okay, and so what we have here is in the color, in the red and green color, we have the curricular domains, and in the black we have the curricular fields. Yeah, and so when I began last time, I concluded by discussing these curricular domains and fields. Yeah, and this basic outline. So what I've done today is delve a little bit deeper, yeah, into breaking down what will be included under the various different curricular fields, yeah, and what that would look like, okay? Because that was a question that was asked last time, and there was some, inquiry about the different curricular fields. I thought it would be good to go into that, and then another day we'll go into the African Centred Thematic Inventory. All right, so you can click the link, Brother Anthony. I see you. I'm going to come to you shortly. Just give me a sec to read the comments that I've added gotkushTV. Hold on there. Oh, that's new. I wonder what that is. Right, brothers and sisters. Imhotep say, okay, so you would like me to go into the African Centred Thematic Inventory. All right, we'll do that. I'm not sure when, because we've got to change up the subject then. But we'll definitely get into the African Centred Thematic Inventory. I've prepared that one to go into it deeper. But yeah, we'll get into it then. Imhotep also says the St. Mary's College of the Immaculate Conception. So that's a school that you went to. Yeah, so that's the elite, the elite school in Trinidad where Imhotep got to, you know. St. Mary College of Immaculate Conception to reggae. It's sound elite to write it. Yes, indeed, my brother. Yes, indeed. And you've also mentioned Presentation College in Trinidad. We don't know what that college is. So is that another elite educational institution in Trinidad? Do let me know. Please at gotkushTV if you want your comment read out, and you can feel free to click the link which is in the chat and pin to the top of the chat if you want to come through live and interact with I. Greetings, Brother Anthony.
Hey, what's going on, Brother ShakaRa?
Greetings. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, man. I'm doing pretty good, man. Yeah, man, great show, man. That's a great show, man. You know, it's always a joy, to listen to you teach, man.
Much appreciated, my brother.
Yeah, man. I can't stress enough, the importance of African Centred Education, man, for our children, man. Among our people all over the world, man, because it's the most important thing, though, man. Because I remember Dr. Bobby Wright said that he said that we're in a fight for the black mind, man, for the global black mind. We're in a fight for our children's mind. He said, and we lose. He said that's the last fight. We have to fight for the minds of our people, man. And so I can't stress it how important it is, man. With everything that all of the problems that we have facing us, and sometimes it looks insurmountable. But we have to teach our children, man, because we might not win the fight today, but our children gonna have to fight, go carry on the fight. You know what I'm saying? For tomorrow. Sir. Yeah, it's a brother. I got a good brother, man. I don't know, you may know him, Brother ShakaRa. It's a brother here in Louisiana where I live at. He's in New Orleans. He has an African Centred educational institution down there, man. His name is Samari, Brother Samari. His institution is called the Kamali Academy, man.
Kamali Academy. Yeah, I know of it. I know of him, and I had the opportunity to meet him briefly when I was in Ghana a few years ago. Yeah.
I remember he was in Ghana.
Yeah, so he lives in Ghana now. I'm doing very well out there. And I met, like, literally, I was just on the road one day and I saw him and I was like, big up, Benjamin. I know who you are. And, you know, but yeah, their school is online at the moment. So you can, they can access their educational resources and curriculum online as well. So they have a curriculum that is inspired by Kwame Ajayi-Koto, but it's not exactly the same. Yeah. So good brother.
Yeah, and that elder Kwame Akoto, man. I mean, you know, he set the foundation for the Africans here in America as far as African Centred Education. You know,
yes, sir.
we've had some people who tried to do some things, but him and Dr. Mawalimo Baruti and his wife, you know, and we had his sister Queen Thais. You know, she does a great job too, man.
100%. I saw Baba Baruti and Enna Yabaruti over the weekend. You know what I'm saying? So it was beautiful to see them. Well, I was meeting Enna Ya for the first time, but I've met Baba Baruti a few times before. But yeah, Enna Ya for the first time, and Queen Thais, we've never met in the flesh. But I was teaching up until recently. I was teaching in Queen Thais's institution, Homeschool University. I was teaching media studies, in that particular institution. So Queen Thais is referred to as the mother of homeschooling. That is a hard-working African woman.
Hard-working sister, man.
Hard-working. Like her and her team are brilliant and beautiful and magnificent, and they're doing fantastic work. Yeah, I'm gonna add one more name to the names that you've mentioned, and that's a brother by the name of Marcus Klein. Yeah, who's coming out of Chicago.
I think I heard of.
Yeah, he's excellent. He is excellent. And not only he has a number of physical schools running at the moment. Recently, a couple of years ago, bought a significant building as well to develop another educational institution. So his methodologies and frameworks. If anybody wants to see Marcus Klein, you can just simply YouTube him. Yeah, Marcus, as you spell Marcus, and Klein is Kline. And what's good about him is that often in his presentations he'll have his students there, and so you can see the his methodology in practice, in action within the context of his presentation itself. Powerful. There are some very good educationalists in our global African community that we need to focus on.
Yeah, brother ShakaRa, a lot of people. One thing that a lot of people don't know, and apparently some people in the UK don't know. I was on it was a podcast the other day. I can't call him. I kept the video, but it's a brother from out of the UK. You know, he has a podcast, man. And I can't call his name right now. It's my first time ever saying. But anyway, I was relaying to him. I said it was a brother in the UK, and he's almost kind of like the godfather of homeschooling. You know, and he was from Guyana originally. His name was Beresford Edward, known as Nana Bunsen. Yes. I think he was the brother who came up. He and his friends, they came up with the Saturday school type of thing.
100%.
African Centred Education. And he was like the pioneer among, everybody.
Yeah, 100%. You're absolutely correct. So Nana Bonsu, I live in London. He lived in Manchester, which is about 4 or 5 hours away from London. But he was a member of the Pan-African Congress movement. Yeah, he's now an ancestor. So these are people that I grew up with, in the community over here. Because we used to travel, like the Pan-African communities used to travel for things like African Liberation Day, which is on 25th of May. And so I grew up with these elders. And so, there's a significant Saturday school movement in this country through which, people were developing African Centred methodologies for teaching Black children. I said in this country. I'm not in the UK at the moment, but I read a lot about it, man. I read a lot about it. Where did you read about Nana Bonsu?
I was looking at something. It was something I was looking at on YouTube, and it was they were talking about there was a conference in the UK, and Dr. John Henry Clark was there, Kwame Ture, and Nana Bonsu, and I seen a picture of them. The three of them standing up together. And that's why I said, who is this guy, Nana Bonsu? And so I just started doing research on him, and I found out who he was.
Right, my brother, if you can find what you were watching, I'd be very interested to see it, please.
Okay.
If you can find what you were watching.
Okay, well, hey, man, I appreciate y'all give me an opportunity to talk, man. I'll knock off and let somebody else talk.
Yes, King. Give thanks, yeah. Give thanks, my brother. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. That's mad. Not everybody knows the name Nana Bonsu in that family. That's that's serious business right there, sir. You know what I mean? Serious thing that. Yeah, serious thing that. You know. And funny enough, when I was at Abakosem, Sun Sum, a brother was mentioning to me that he's a great appreciator of a man by the name of Ishaka Barashango, author of African Woman, Original Guardian Angel, among other titles. And the last time I recall seeing Ishaka Barashango was at the funeral of Nana Bonsu, yeah, in the UK. They were so close that he actually flew over for the funeral of Nana Bonsu. I forget the year. That's the last time I can recall seeing Ishaka Barashango in the flesh. He's also our ancestor, yeah. So yeah, man, we've worked with some greats, brothers and sisters, and we give thanks. We give thanks, yeah. You know what I mean? So, brothers and sisters, I want to big up a couple people that I've seen in the chat. One is Baba Sengo, and he didn't at gotkushTV, but I know that he knew Baba Kwame Ajay Akoto personal. Yeah, so I'm gonna read his comment because this is a personal reflection. Ancestor Ajay Akoto is left a giant legacy, a dear friend and brother for many years here in Banneker City. So they share the city, Washington, D.C., that is, which was designed by our ancestor Benjamin Banneker. So that's why it's called Banneker City. He taught my eldest daughter in Watoto Shul of Nation House Positive Action Center. Yes, indeed, brothers and sisters. And if I'm not mistaken, Nation House is celebrating 50 years this year. Yeah, 50 years this year. So we're celebrating the 50th anniversary, 50 years of existence of an African Centred Educational institution. That is no mean feat, brothers and sisters. Yeah, you can't frown upon them thing there. I also want to big up that's my president, Baba Sengo. Also want to big up my chief, Fode, over there in Mama Salon, right about now, kings and queens. Yeah, so these are names that you need to know, and you're going to be seeing more and more of on gotkushTV. Try no. All right. Yes, brothers and sisters. If you got any comments, questions, challenges, feel free to at gotkushTV. If you want to come live, you can, hit the link, brothers and sisters, and come through. You know what I'm saying? Feel free to do so. We're going to give it another 5 minutes. Yeah. And if nobody comes live, then we'll conclude this evening's proceedings. Stay with me. We're going to go for another brief eye for eye commercial. So the subject is scientific Garveyism, a working idealism for the 21st century and beyond. Let us begin by defining what is Garveyism. It's a good question, right? So I'm going to read first. It said, the theory and practice of African people engage in liberatory nation building as exemplified by the life and work of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Brother Leader says it is the sum total of the life and legacy of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Mosiah Garvey, encapsulating the man, the vision, and the plan. Yeah? And as you can see here, for the sake of rhyme, I've added the people. Now, initially I had the man, the people, the vision, the plan. For the sake of rhyme, I put the people, the man, the vision, the plan. Yeah? And I'm emphasizing this because oftentimes we focus on Marcus Garvey, the man. And that's good. It's a good start. Yeah? It's impossible, however, to understand Marcus Garvey outside of the context of the people, yes, from which he came, and the people through which he was organizing. Is everybody following me? Yeah. And I'm going to explain this a little bit further. Yeah, let's go forward as we explain some definitions. Right, scientific, conducted in the manner of science.
You can enslave as was done for 300 years the bodies of men. You can shackle the hands of men. You can shackle the feet of men. You can imprison the bodies of men, but you cannot shackle or imprison the minds of men.
I sparked a blunt before I wrote this, unsure how I approach it. I'm coughing up a lung like I got COVID, gas potent. Snapping on the track like poetry, words spoken. I've been in my feelings trying to find a state to cope in. Justice for
Yes, brothers and sisters, so do come true on the 10th and the 11th of June for that energy, that vibration, and the discussion therein. All right, brothers and sisters. So yes, we've been exploring the topic of African Centred Education and what an African Centred curriculum would look like. Yeah, what an African Centred curriculum would look like. And it's important that we remind ourselves of the title of the book from which we are drawing the knowledge and the information that we are dispensing today. Nation Building Theory and Practice in African Centred Education. Yeah. And so the reason why I love that title so much is because it immediately sets the tone. Yeah, it immediately tells us what the purpose of the education is. The purpose of the education is not just to get a good job. Yes. The purpose of the education is not to become the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom of Great Britain. The purpose of the education is not even simply to be able to be a genius to the extent that you are the inventor or contribute to the invention of the latest, in technological, development. That's not the purpose of the thing. All those things are good. Yeah, all those things are beautiful, but it's not the purpose of the thing. The purpose of the thing is nation building. And that presents a challenge to us all, as parents, as a community. It presents a challenge because it requires us to have to think outside of the box, of the confines of the society in which we live. And one of the biggest hindrances to our educational efforts as a people is not necessarily the extent to which that we're able to administer lessons that enable our children to pass whatever exams they face from school or university. But it's the biggest challenge is to be able to educate our children in a way whereby they are unskilled with what they need, knowledgeable about what they need to know, and impassioned by the purpose of using those skills to solve the problems of our community specifically. So most of the time, my father has a saying where he says, African intellect must serve African purposes, or words to that effect. African intellect must serve African purposes. Yeah. The biggest challenge that we have is the fact that African intellect, by and large, is serving the interests of Bakra power, white power in today's world. Yeah. And so the purpose of a curriculum design such as this is to be able to instill the young people with the mission and the vision, as well as engage them in the process of being able to map out that vision, map out that mission. So they don't see it as an all daunting task, that they're able to break it down into bite-sized chunks and chart their own personal application within whatever field of activity they choose to engage. And I think a good place to conclude our presentation today, our discussion today, might be with the words of Nana Amos Wilson. Yeah, might be with the words of Nana Amos Wilson, where he's discussing science. Yeah, where he's discussing science. All right, where he's discussing science. And he says, so see, science doesn't just pop up because you know science or just because you're some scientific genius. It must be what? supported. This is a reality, brothers and sisters. Yeah, science must be supported. You could be a genius scientist, little more, unless you have the research facilities and funding. Yeah, then your scientific genius going to stay in a few head. And oftentimes, the scientific genius that is in whatever way scientific genius is allowed to manifest itself is based upon, again, the national agenda of the society in which the scientist lives. There is a significant relationship between invention, scientific and technological development, and the arms industry and the militaries of the Western world. You might be surprised to know that the extent of what we might consider everyday technological appliances, utilities, and software that we use today that was developed by British and American militaries for the sake of warfare. You might be surprised by that. There's a good book on the subject called Accessory to War by the well-known scientist Neil deGrasse Tyson. Very, very good book. Yeah, very, very good book. Explains the relationship between the scientific community and the military, yeah, in America. Okay, and African science and technology in the hands of African people will not become so until African cultures support that science and until African economic systems can afford to pay for it. And that's why an African who majors in engineering and chemistry must also major in political science and government and economics and other things. That's why, and as an African, you gotta be much more broadly educated than a European, because the Europeans have already structured their systems economically, socially, and so forth. Many of us want to restrict our children to being clients of European political, economic, commercial, and public systems. Yeah. The African Centred Educational process implores us to think outside of that box. Why? Because we are not just trying to be clients of the already structured systems of Europeans. We are trying to develop our own systems through which we explore and develop our scientific study, exploration, innovation, and development and production, brothers and sisters. And so for those who want to keep us locked in to Bakra power, economic and political systems, they impose a reasoning, a framework of reasoning that doesn't allow you to go beyond that. Because they're incapable of thinking beyond the bounds of Bakramasa confines. Incapable of doing so. Yeah? And sometimes they are, in fact, capable of doing so, but they want to ensure that you don't. They want to ensure that African genius continues to exclusively serve the interests of Bakramasa and is incapable of building and doing for self. Yeah, you have to be wary of these intentionalities that exist, brothers and sisters. But that's why, and as an African, you got to be much more broadly educated than a European, because the Europeans have already structured their system economically, socially, and so forth. So therefore, they can send their young in and give them a narrow scientific education that's just based purely on technique, because all of the other parts are put together. But in nations that are developing, the scientists themselves have to also have working knowledge of related areas so that they can build a structure necessary for the growth and the development of science. What we have at the moment is a situation in which we are supposed to make of ourselves beneficiaries of the science of other people. All we have to do is develop and follow political and economic policies that allow the scientific production of other people to flow and flood into our nation, and not be concerned with developing our own, developing the productive capacity of ourselves. We must simply be recipients of the productive capacity of other people. That is the context in which we exist today. Down to food, we must not be focused on developing the productive capacity of our nations to feed themselves. We must suppress our own productive capacity, our own market, in order for our markets to be a playground for the productive capacity of other people, other nations, other civilizations, brothers and sisters. That is the dynamic that governs the economic system that we live in today, which is why, again, agronomy is a primary subject within the discipline of science as far as an African-centered economic curriculum is concerned. Remember that agronomy is the branch of agriculture that deals with field crop production and soil management. Agronomists generally work with crops that are grown on a large scale, for example, small grains. Check out a presentation that I did. You should be able to watch it on gotkushTV now. If not, you get it soon. Yeah. If not now, you get it in the month of this month of African Liberation Day, entitled Uhuru Udongo, Free Up the Land. And in it, I speak to the fact that there are hundreds and thousands of grains, fruits, and vegetables that are indigenous to the African continent that are not grown commercially, that have very little impact upon the market. Why? Because our economies have been made cash crop economies serving the interests of Europeans, principally. And so what grows in our nations indigenously is not important. The importance is serving European markets and being a recipient of the products from European markets. Yeah. And that is part of the reason, a contributory factor to why such things as food, quote unquote, insecurity exist in many African and Caribbean nations, and that we lack food insecurity is a symptom of the fact that we lack food sovereignty. Yes, food sovereignty, the capacity to dictate the production and distribution of foodstuffs within our nations. Remember that Baba Amos Wilson is an educational psychologist. But in nations that are developing, the scientists themselves have to also have a working knowledge of related areas, so they can build a structure necessary for the growth and development of science. The people that don't want us to do that, don't want us to achieve this, have a vested interest in rubbishing even these kinds of conceptual frameworks. And what they'll do is they'll attempt to negate these ideas through rubbishing those who brought them to us. Yeah, so you know, the negation and the ridicule or the diminishment of the significance, the work, and the expertise of a Nana Amos Wilson, for example. You have to try and diminish the quality of his work and his analysis in that regard. Why? Because you don't want ourselves, our community, our children, our nation to be concerned with building structures independently or self-sufficiently, sovereign structures that are necessary for the growth and development of science. So when you go to European institutions where you're just taught chemistry alone and math alone and so forth, you still have not yet become an African scientist. So when you go to European institutions where you're just taught chemistry alone and math alone and so forth, you still have not yet become an African scientist. You understand? And simply because you're sitting in those courses that they're not talking about economics doesn't mean you're getting a necessary and appropriate education. An African science class discusses politics and economics along with science and technology. You have to understand these kinds of things. An African science class discusses politics and economics along with science and technology. You have to understand these kinds of things. There's a good example of the importance of this. Relates to the pandemic and the vaccine, yeah, and to a significant degree, the vaccine. If you look at the distribution of the vaccines, the various different vaccines, Pfizer, AstraZeneca, all of them, yeah, and whilst people all over the conscious community were running around condemning people for being vaccine hesitant, yes. People looked into Pfizer and saw the number of unethical practices and challenges and court cases and so on and so forth that have been associated with their products, and said, you know what, on this one, I'm gonna sit this one out. Yeah, people's done the same with AstraZeneca, and now AstraZeneca has had to come out and admit that blood clots are associated with their vaccine in rare cases, so they had to pull back their vaccine from the market, so to speak. Yeah, but then there was in India, they had developed their own vaccine, yeah, for a while, and basically they stopped, importing Pfizer and AstraZeneca because because of the rules and the logistics and the policies that were associated with being able to use the AstraZeneca and the Pfizer vaccines, yeah. And so there was the politics and economics of that. It wasn't just a case, I'm saying, that the vaccine was created and was administered in a global pandemic. No. You had to buy the vaccine from the corporations that imposed a monopoly on its production. And if you were, for example, in America and you wanted to access vaccines from India, because they did develop their vaccine, or treatments from Cuba, you were not allowed to do so. Yes? There was no argument about, well, it's a global pandemic and whatever needs to be done to maximize the access to treatments that have been, tested and tried in various different nations and so on and so forth. Everybody should have access to all of them. So, no. America said, no, you can't, no Cuban situation now come in here. We're not import no Cuban doctor. Whilst American corporations are marketing their vaccines around the world and attaching payment to things like ownership of national assets. So if you want this Pfizer vaccine, we'll give it to you, but maybe you can't pay the upfront money. So all right, give me your army base, national asset. Yeah, they want access to national assets. All right. So this is how medicine, and then there were places that couldn't get the vaccine because their nations couldn't pay for it. Yeah, there's places where the vaccine couldn't get to because, well, quickly enough, because but this is like, for example, when the Ebola pandemic was taking place, yeah, all over, well, not all over, but across significant aspects of West Africa. There was issue with distribution. Why? Because the road infrastructure, the treatment existed, but the road infrastructure was not sufficient in certain nations to get it to certain hard to reach places with effectiveness and efficiency. So we must understand the politics and the economics of medicine. We must understand the politics and the economics of science. Brothers and sisters, that's what Nana Amos Wilson is telling us. And within an African-centered educational process, we are not just going to learn, for example, medicine. We're going to learn about how medicine operates in Congo and in Ghana and in South Africa and in Jamaica and in Haiti, so that we can develop medicine and methodologies in medical practice that allow us to solve the problem specific to where we're there. We're not just going to import methodologies and systems from Britain, America, and France. We're not going to be enslaved and beholden to big corporations from Britain, America, and France, who make billions and trillions off of selling medical products to the rest of the world. We're not going to do that. We're not going to make ourselves beholden and enslaved to these people and their institutions. We're not going to be beholden to the frameworks that they impose. No, we're going to develop based upon the needs of African people. And whilst we are developing our productive capacity, if we are in a position whereby we need to buy this from that corporation or this corporation, we will do so. But our engagement will not be at the expense of our productive capacity and our sovereignty as a people. Brothers and sisters, that's why it's important to understand the politics and economics of science, to understand the relationship between corporations in the Western world and governments in the Western world, that we don't fall prey to the rhetoric that suggests that we're in a better position if we are enslaved and beholden to Western corporations and Western governments. They're all the bloody same. And they work in the interest of white power. And we have to understand that. Brothers and sisters, this is has been an exploration in African-centered education and what an African-centered curriculum will look like. Let me see. Give me some Black Power fists in the chat if you've got something. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, from this particular session today. I'm just double checking that I've not missed any at gotkushTVs. I don't think I have, so we're going to move on and close out our session today, brothers and sisters. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Stay tuned. We're going to come to a review of the Abakosem Sum Sum at some point, brothers and sisters. Yes, so stay tuned for that. We'll do a session reviewing that so people can get an idea of how that went down. And all of these things, brothers and sisters. All right, there's no more at Gotkushes, brothers and sisters. So we give thanks to all those watching in. We give thanks to all those who come with their sincerity. We give thanks to all the mischievous energy. We give thanks to the ancestors who have joined us. We give thanks even to the MI5 and the MI6 who are contributing to the view count. We give thanks to the Talk TV and GB News who are surveilling the development of gotkushTV. You know, we give thanks. Yeah, we give thanks to everybody. We know So if the enemy is not trying to thwart what we're doing, either conceptually or materially, then we know that we're not doing the right thing. And so we give thanks, for those who want to divert us from appreciating an African centered education and nation building, and those who want to divert us from critiquing Bakra power, whether it's their political or economic power. We give thanks to honor, because you confirm that what we are doing is the right thing. You confirm that what we are doing is the right thing, brothers and sisters. And so with that, we say 10 Namwa, they be thankful unto the Mother, Father, creative life force of the universe. Kudzai Mudzimu Mokuro, we give praises unto our great ancestors. Abibi Tumi, Abibi Fahodie, African power and African liberation for all African people. Aibobo Bon Komba, Aibobo Bon Komba, Aibobo, Aibobo, Aibobo. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. So the subject is scientific Garveyism, a working idealism for the 21st century and beyond. Let us begin by defining what is Garveyism. It's a good question, right? So I'm going to read first. It said, the theory and practice of African people engaged in liberatory nation building as exemplified by the life and work of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Brother Leader says it is the sum total of the life and legacy of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Mosiah Garvey, encapsulating the man, the vision, and the plan. Yeah? And as you can see here, for the sake of rhyme, I've added the people. Now, initially I had the man, the people, the vision, the plan. For the sake of rhyme, I put the people, the man, the vision, the plan. Yeah? And I'm emphasizing this because oftentimes we focus on Marcus Garvey, the man. And that's good. It's a good start. Yeah? It's impossible, however, to understand Marcus Garvey outside of the context of the people. Yes? From which he came and the people through which he was organizing. Is everybody following me? Yeah. And I'm going to explain this a little bit further. Yeah. Let's go forward as we explain some definitions. Right. Scientific, conducted in the manner of science.
You can enslave us was done for 300 years the bodies of men. You can shackle the hands of men. You can shackle the feet of men. You can imprison the bodies of men. But you cannot shackle or imprison the minds of men.
I sparked a blunt before I wrote this, unsure how I approach it. I'm coughing up a lung like I got COVID gas potent. Snapping on the track like poetry, words spoken. I've been in my feelings trying to find a state to cope in. Justice for
Mina bakabusi nengre me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre me fele
bakabusi